Celam, a path of renewal and restructuring in a synodal key. Renewal and Restructuring of Celam. The 37th Ordinary General Assembly of Celam, held in Tegucigalpa, Honduras from May the 13th to the 18th, 2019, set the beginning of an itinerary of renewal and restructuring within the Latin American Episcopal Council, according to the reform of the Universal Church. Moved by vocation for communion, collegiality, reflection, and animation, at the service of the Church of the continent, the Latin American and Caribbean bishops assumed this process, welcoming Pope Francisco's call to respond with passion to the pastoral challenges of the continent.
Si queremos servir desde el Celam a nuestra América Latina, lo tenemos que hacer con pasión. Hoy hace falta pasión. Poner el corazón en todo lo que hagamos. Pasión de joven enamorado y de anciano sabio. Pasión que transforma las ideas en utopías viables. Pasión en el trabajo de nuestras manos. Pasión que nos convierte en continuos peregrinos en nuestras iglesias, como, permítanme recordarlo, Santo Toribio de Mogrovejo, que no se instaló en su sede. De 24 años de episcopado, 18 lo pasó entre los pueblos de su Dios. Hermanos, por favor les pido pasión, pasión evangelizadora.
After its creation almost 7 decades ago, Celam assumed its identity and mission by recognizing that the joys and hopes, the sadness and anguish of men and women, especially the poor and those who suffer, are at the same time joys and hopes, sadness and anguish of the disciples of Christ, as the Council Fathers stated. This ecclesiological perspective of the Second Vatican Council has been a source of inspiration for the Latin American and Caribbean Church, as expressed in the 5 General Councils of the Latin American Episcopate, held in Rio de Janeiro, Medellín, Puebla, Santo Domingo, and Aparecida, as well as at the First Ecclesial Assembly of Latin America, held in November 2021. The preferential option for the poor and the concern for the care and defense of the common home has shaped the face of a Latin American and Caribbean church on the way out, poor for the poor, and Samaritan, in a continent marked by social injustice and by the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and so many other historical pandemics. Where a way of being the church emerged under the leadership of great bishops, religious men and women, priests, and laymen and women who gave their lives for the poorest. With its lights and shadows, advances and setbacks, this way of being the church was consolidated in the region and is now projected globally through the pontificate of Pope Francisco, who has been such a source of inspiration on the path of revitalization of Celam. In this way, the Tegucigalpa Assembly recalled the need to discern and respond to the signs of the times with Parousia, giving a step to an unprecedented process of renewal and restructuring. There were 9 principles that guided the renewal and restructuring process of Celam. First, in a synodal key, to promote ecclesial participation, shared responsibilities, and permanent dialogue with the episcopal conferences. Second, in collegiality, faithful to the nature of Celam, promoting communion between the bishops of the continent and with the Bishop of Rome. Third, in integral conversion, in continuity with the Synod for the Amazon as the People of God Church, confirming our option for the poor. Fourth, with a prophetic voice to respond to the cries of our people and point out paths of equity, justice, and peace in defense of life and human dignity. Fifth, with an integrative continental vision, seeking a Latin American and Caribbean vision and approach with a holistic view. Sixth, with impact, to generate an evangelizing impact in the particular churches of the continent, in society, and in leaders responsible for major decisions. Seventh, articulating and integrating network of networks, recognizing Celam's vocation as an animator of vital processes at the continental level with territorial and thematic networks. Eighth, promoting decentralization and relevance to offer adequate responses to particular needs and specific capacities, promoting regional work. Ninth, welcoming and contributing to the magisterium of the Church with fidelity to the Holy Father and creativity, assuming the legacy of the General Conferences. Under these principles, and as a result of a broad process of consultation and reflection that involved bishops, priests, religious men and women, lay experts, as well as the Celam Theological Pastoral Reflection team, a more flexible structure has been made, simple, agile, efficient, and relevant to the needs of the Episcopal Conferences and the people of God. The central core of this renewal is involved with the creation of 4 pastoral centers, directed by lay professionals from different countries, that replace the 7 departments that made up Celam and the 3 training schools. Each center is, at the same time, an articulator of regional networks, coordinating joint actions and hand-in-hand with the national Episcopal Conferences. The Knowledge Management Center is articulated with a network of Catholic universities and the socio-pastoral observatories of the region to improve the Church's capacity to analyze reality on a scientific basis, listen to the people, and help strengthen its prophetic voice in the continent. The Center for Pastoral Action Programs and Networks has the responsibility to articulate territorial and thematic networks on ecology, migration, women, indigenous people, Afro and Garifuna people, among others, while collaborating with the renewal of pastoral services and ministries from a synodal perspective. The Sebi Tepal Training Center, in charge of contributing to the renewal of the training of bishops and pastoral agents, is articulated with Catholic universities, seminaries, and other educational institutions in the region, including theological pastoral networks and social and ecclesiastical movements. The Center for Communication creates and consolidates a communication and technology ecosystem in the region, in coordination with other networks and media in the region, to renew and enhance the communication capacity of the Church on the continent, as well as its prophetic impact. These pastoral centers organize their lives of work based on 3 axes that include the 4 dreams expressed by Pope Francisco in Dear Amazonia: the axis of integral human development and integral ecology, which includes social, ecological, and cultural dreams; the outgoing synodal church axis, which includes the ecclesial dream; the El Celam axis, a school of synodality which also responds to the ecclesiastical dream for a synodal church, participation, communion, mission. Additionally, the administrative and financial reform of Celam has been made, with the implementation of the administration and finance, also the direction of planning management. This new structure, approved by the General Assembly of Celam, was reconfirmed with the promulgation of the new statutes of Celam that received the endorsement of the Holy Father in October 2022. With its implementation, it has been confirmed that each pastoral center, made up of professional teams specialized in their particular area, develops more efficient, effective, and higher quality processes. Each pastoral center works in a network which enhances the installed capacity of the Church in Latin America and the Caribbean, in coordination with the Episcopal Conferences and with other ecclesiastical and non-ecclesial organizations, and from a perspective of animation of processes, not of events. Each pastoral center has a collegial and synodal approach, expanding the participation of the people of God to overcome self-referentiality and clericalism. This is also reflected in the composition of the councils of the pastoral centers, under the coordination of a bishop, and composed of bishops, religious men and women, priests, and laymen and women who participate in processes of discernment and execution of programs and projects. Likewise, to articulate the transversal actions and promote the elaboration, execution, and monitoring of the Celam Global Plan, the Coordination Committee is established, made up of the President of Celam, who leads it, the Secretary General, the coordinating bishops of the 4 centers, the director of each pastoral center, the Assistant General Secretary of Pastoral, and the Director of Planning. Likewise, it is important to highlight that the renewal and restructuring process has made possible the consolidation of alliances with the Ecclesial Conference of the Amazon, the Latin American and Caribbean Confederation of Religious Women and Men, the Latin American and Caribbean Secretariat of Caritas, the Organization of Latin American Seminaries, the Latin American and Caribbean Ecclesial Network on Migration, Displacement, Refuge and Human Trafficking, the Organization of Catholic Universities of Latin America and the Caribbean, the Inter-American Confederation of Catholic Education, and at the level of ecclesial networks, the Pan-Amazon Ecclesial Network, the Mesoamerican Ecological Ecclesial Network, the Ecclesial Network of the Gran Chaco and the Guarina Aquifer, among others. In summary, this new structure is simpler, more articulated, professional, and flexible to respond to the needs and requests of the Episcopal conferences and the Church in Latin America and the Caribbean, under the principles and convictions that emerged from the Assembly from Tegucigalpa. Today, like yesterday, we are convinced that Celam, illuminated by the Word and at the service of the people of God who pilgrimage in Latin America and the Caribbean, favors the personal and community encounter with Jesus Christ, contributes to the communion and collegiality of the bishops, and serves the Episcopal conferences, encouraging discernment of the signs of the times, reflection, formation, and pastoral action in a synodal key. www.celam.org